All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Legacy G2 Universe Jhiaxus. This has been a figure that I've been excited for a little while now. This is actually released quite a bit earlier than we were expecting it to. It dropped on Amazon earlier than anything else in its wave, so I decided to pick it up. And yeah, this is a pretty cool figure. If you're unfamiliar with Jhiaxus as a character, he originated in the Generation 2 comic book, so he was a comic original character. And yeah, this is mostly a faithful adaptation of that design of Jhiaxus. He was also a character in the IDW comics, but this is really more based on the G2 version. He even has a little G2 Decepticon logo there, which I'm not entirely sure if he had that in the comics, but whatever. It's a nice little reference to G2 nonetheless. And yeah, he's an all right little jet mode here. It's kind of accurate to his original comics version. His original comics version looked a lot more like Scourge's alt mode, but with some bat wings off to the side, whereas this is a little bit more of a reimagining to it. I don't mind it as an alt mode, and also I don't have a ton of loyalty to the G2 comics, so if they wanted to switch up the alt mode, that's fine. I mostly like it. I think the one biggest problem with this alt mode is just that the arms are just kind of chilling in a big chunk on the underside here. Like, it's a Cybertronian design, so like that's fine, I guess, but it definitely looks like a clear, cutoff in the aerodynamicism of this vehicle mode. But yeah, he comes with a few accessories here. He comes with this big red gun. He comes with this really weirdly thin gun here, and it's done in clear plastic. And then he comes with this little piece which plugs onto a piece that's on his shoulder in robot mode to give him a shoulder kind of cannon, missiles, something, I don't know. In terms of storage for this stuff in this mode, there's a few things you can do. For this little piece, you can just plug it onto the back of the bigger red rifle, and the best place to store this is using this peg here and using this port up here on the top, so you can peg it in like that, and it just sits on top and has a central mounted gun in his jet mode. I think it looks pretty cool. It does kind of feel like it defeats the purpose of having this fin in the back, but that's okay. I think it mostly looks pretty cool. And for this one, there is a little hole on the bottom of the nose cone, which you can store it there. It does stick out a little bit, and if you wanted to face it forward or, plug it in this way and face it forward, I think it sticks out a little bit too much for my liking. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of this gun, and the red one is really all that I feel like I need for this figure. So personally, I think I'm just going to take this one and put it, in a parts box. But, you could put it there. You could put it on the bottom of the arms here. If you're not sitting it, if like you're doing it on a flight stand, since it's so thin, it's, fairly unobtrusive, but obviously it already sticks out a little bit too much down here. So I don't know. I think probably the best way to store it is like that. And then it also hides this, another problem I have with the alt mode. It has just a huge gaping hole in the bottom that you can see through when you look at the cockpit from the top. It's not the end of the world, but also you can see his robot mode face through the back section here. And at first I thought you could turn the head around, but it actually like bumps into the armature sections for the shoulders when they plug in, so you really can't. Like, you can force it, but it kind of just forces the head off of the ball joint, and then you have to reattach it later, which is probably not great for it overall, but whatever. For now, we'll just put the accessories off to the side. In terms of comparisons, for the standard one, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe. So you can see, it's a Cybertronian vehicle, so it can really be whatever kind of size it needs to be. It doesn't have to scale with anything in particular. For a fairly ubiquitous jet transformer, here he is with the Earthrise Seeker mold with Starscream. There they are together. You can see, he's maybe a little bit smaller than Starscream profile-wise, but they more or less match up for Voyager class figures. Here he is with the G2 Laser Prime from Legacy, just so you can see what they look like together, since these are, notionally from the same kind of universe with Legacy's whole gimmick. That looks pretty good, I think. And then here he is with the only other Jhiaxus figure that I have, the Thrilling 30 Jhiaxus from a few years ago. And yeah, as you can see, this is really the first time that we're getting like a proper Jhiaxus figure, because like the other two Jhiaxus figures we've gotten have both been like repaints of other figures. And while this one does a fair bit of remolding, both of those figures have chosen to do bright orange color schemes, even though that's just not even really close to Jhiaxus's color from the comics. So lots of weird choices. I think this one was mostly in reference to the first one, but still, it would have been better to have it in this color scheme. So I'm happy that we actually have a Jhiaxus of the proper color scheme. But yeah, in terms of transformation, to start off here, and I guess this is kind of an option for the jet mode too, because he's got these little fake bat wings hanging out underneath here that end up on his ankles in robot mode. And I personally like to kind of incorporate those into the vehicle mode because, well, one, it makes it not cheating to, you know, imply that these wings are these wings or just have like superfluous weird bat wings. But I don't know. I think it also makes the jet mode look a little bit cooler, like especially if you're looking at it from the front. And then also when you start transformation, the first thing that you can do is you take this white armature here with the green wings on it, and you fold it up like this, and then fold the wing around like this, and you kind of like reorient how the wings sit in vehicle mode. And though this is just how they're supposed to sit for where they go in robot mode, I don't know. I kind of like that better. I mean, it overall doesn't fit the overall profile of the comics jet quite as well. But this jet, I already feel like is a bit of a departure from that design anyway. So I kind of like having the wings a little bit more central, and then these wings play a more obvious role where you can actually view them from the top and the back. I don't know. I kind of go back and forth. I definitely like to have these wings out, even though they are supposed to store under like that. But I can't really decide if I like the wings further back or just like this. I don't know, but it's an option either way, which I think is cool. But yeah, once you've done that, you can take the end sections of the wing here and just fold them up like that. Now, for the back here, you want to unpeg the legs from each other and the fin. And, well, I guess, first of all, you want to take the chunks with the arms here, unpeg them from the legs, and they kind of fold up, double hinge on this armature here, and lock back in place. Then you can do stuff with the legs. You want to, one at a time, kind of unpeg. It kind of goes like this little yellow section goes underneath this white section, and then this white section tabs into that section. So you kind of have to, like, finagle it out at a bit of an angle to make it the easiest to unpeg. Then you want to unpeg the toes here from the thrusters, which is actually, I'm pretty sure that's a separate piece in there, not painted, which is pretty cool. Makes for a nice visual there. But yeah, you want to untab the feet there, and then you can kind of Combiner Wars style unfold the leg the rest of the way, and then fold the foot out, and then bring this section down so it sits inside the leg. And then you want to take the half of the fin here and just fold it up like that so it sits on the inside of the leg, and then do that again on the other side here. Oop. Make sure to flip the foot out. There we go, and that's pretty much his legs all done. You can kind of, one of these kind of clicks in place, the other one just kind of rests there. I'm not sure if they're supposed to be a little bit further out or bring them all the way back. I usually just do that. Then you want to take this whole section here with the wings on it and fold it up like this. This tab will go into this slot in the cockpit, just like that. Then for the arms here, let me just adjust the camera here a little bit. All right, then you want to unpeg the arms from each other and just fold them out to the side here. Then rotate them around at the waist. Untab this whole kind of front cockpit section, just like that. And then bring this whole section back so that you can flip out the robot mode head. Here, this is what I was talking about. If you rotate the robot mode head around and put it like that, there's not enough clearance for those shoulder pieces to sit on top of it, so it kind of pushes the head down. So you really do, unfortunately, have to leave it so the face is kind of peeking out through the cockpit. Not the best, but whatever. And then for this section here, this little red bit on the inside is going to be part of his shoulder-mounted weapon. So you want to flip that out when it's at this stage, and then take the rest of the nose cone, flip it to the inside, and then bring this section down to make the chest. And then bring this whole section down, and then tab this little white panel that his head is on into the back of the front cockpit section. And then on each of his arms, there's a little panel that you open up and then flip out his robot mode hands, and just do that on both sides here. And here we have Jhiaxus in his robot mode. And yeah, he looks really good. I'm quite pleased with how this figure turned out. Now, obviously, we can give him his weapons here. If you want to, if you have this deployed, because I'll talk about that in a sec, you want to take the little back section here off of this gun and then plug it in there to complete that look, because it doesn't really look like much of anything without it. Obviously, he can hold his weapons here. You can hold either of them. I really don't like the weird kind of thin, clear plastic gun. This one I think looks fantastic, but the other one is not great. But if you want to store either of these or both of them, he does have a port on his back right here. If you want to store both of them, then what you want to do is you want to take the peg hole on the thin gun and put it onto the peg of the red gun, and peg them together and then store it like that. Otherwise, either of those pegs on either of the guns can be used to peg into the back here. So you can store just one of them or both of them, which is nice weapon storage. But yeah, in terms of articulation, the head is on a ball joint. It's maybe a little bit loose, but that's okay, because really, where's the head going? And yeah, he's got a really nice face sculpt here. Let me just focus on it there. Very mean looking. Definitely looks a lot like the kind of G2 art style with the sort of like really boxy, like dramatic edges and everything like that, which is nice. But yeah, the head's on a ball joint, so it can rotate around and gets a good amount of wiggle back and forth. The shoulders, unfortunately, to go out to the side, he just has a joint like this rather than, moving at the shoulder joint. It moves at the body itself. So like, I think that looks fine, but I generally prefer it when it can rotate on the axis of the shoulder rather than at the connection to the body. But whatever. He has a bicep swivel, has a pretty deep elbow bend, just a single hinge there. Has a wrist swivel. His fingers can open, which is cool, and I was not expecting that on this size figure. He's got a waist cut. He's got that nice hips choice that they've made for a few figures where he's got the like complete sort of waist section here, but the joint is part of that, so it kind of moves along with it. So he gets the full leg articulation, but doesn't have to use like stupid little flaps that fold out of the way. Those always bug me. But yeah, hips can go forward, back only about that far, out to the side, only about that far. He's got a thigh swivel here at the base, at the top. Got a pretty deep knee bend. Again, only a single hinge there, but it has a pretty good range. And then the feet can tilt forward just a tiny bit, back a little bit more, and then have side-to-side tilt, which is nice. So pretty good articulation on this figure, all things considered. In terms of comparisons, just for the standard one, here he is again with Sideswipe from Kingdom. So that's what he looks like with a pretty average-sized deluxe. Here he is with Starscream. So you can see he's a pretty big Voyager. I mean, Starscream's kind of a short-ish Voyager, but he's a pretty tall guy, which is kind of nice. Here he is again with G2 Laser Prime. So you can see a little bit taller than him even, which is nice. They look very cool together. Here he is with Megatron and the original G1 Optimus, just so you can see what he looks like with the two leaders there. Again, even a little bit taller than Megatron, so he's a pretty big Voyager, all things considered. And then last but not least, here he is with the Thrilling 30 Jhiaxus. Definitely a big glow up here. I mean, this guy, I think he had a fairly good head sculpt, and like, the body type could have been really whatever. I don't mind him being a remold. It's just more like the fact that they decided to do him in neon orange. I think he would have looked pretty good in this color scheme. But that being said, I still think this guy looks much better. Like, it's a better figure. The proportions are better. It has much more of its own presence rather than feeling like, a repaint of Armada Starscream, because that's what this is. And yeah, I think it works pretty well. I love a lot of the detail on here. I love the like leg section here with all these exposed wires. That was a cool detail from the G2 comics that they got in there. Now, in terms of some options here, because you could do a few different things with this figure depending on what your preference is. Personally, like the wings, since I like to use these in the alt mode, you can fold them to the back, and I kind of think that just looks cleaner in general. It's a little less accurate to G2 because he did have little wings sticking off of his ankles, but I don't know. I just kind of like the look of that better myself. And this little weapon, unfortunately, there's no real way to just like fold it away when you have them all transformed if you don't like the looks of it. I mean, it looks fine, but you know, if you're wanting a cleaner look without that there, you can do that. What you have to do is you have to take this little section off, which can be kind of a pain sometimes, and I guess we'll just put that back on the other gun for now. And then, well, we'll take this off. And then you have to actually transform him a little bit. So you want to bring this section back and then bring this section back and unfold the nose cone. And then you can just put this right back where it was in vehicle mode. You can't do that if the little extra bit is attached. It doesn't fold up enough to get out of the way of the nose cone. But then it still folds up, and it even looks like it's got some sculpting where it kind of fits there perfectly. So it seems like that might have been an actual intention. So then you can fold it up like that and have him have a bit more of a clean robot mode without the little shoulder thing there. So that's an option if you want to use it. I mean, again, to be more accurate, it would have the little shoulder thing, but if you're wanting just like a cleaner iteration of Jhiaxus, I think that still looks pretty cool. And then obviously, you know, this doesn't really affect the weapon a whole lot. It just makes it like a little tiny bit longer, which doesn't really matter in any of the ways that he holds it. But yeah, no, it's a pretty good figure overall. Oh my gosh, words. I'm really quite pleased with him. I like that it has some of those options built in, because like I really can't decide, you know, what iteration of the jet mode and what iteration of the robot mode I like, but really any of the iterations, they're all pretty good for the most part, so it doesn't really bug me that much. Oh, you could also, if you want to give him more like, you know, wings, you could open that up. I prefer the cleaner look there myself, but again, another option, and I think it looks good either way. But yeah, no, this figure, I'm really interested to see what this is going to get turned into, because like obviously they're going to use this mold, or at least this skeleton for a mold again for something, and I'm not entirely sure what at this point, because you know, when we saw we were getting a new Armada Starscream, and we saw we were getting a new Jhiaxus, we were like, oh, they're just doing the same thing that they did last time. But no, Jhiaxus has nothing in common with Armada Starscream, and we just recently saw leaks of that mold as well, and it's clearly not the same mold. So I don't know what they're going to do for a remold of this guy, but either way, I think he's really cool. Also, I didn't really talk about it, but it's nice that he's got little flaps to cover up the gaps from when his hands fold into his forearms. Not a lot of, even other Voyager figures don't always have that. So yeah, it's just clear that there was a lot of care given to this figure, and it's got nice, like, functional weapon storage in both modes. It's got good articulation. The joints all feel good for the most part. The shoulders are maybe a little bit weaker than I'd like them to be, but that's not too big a deal because they can hold the weight of the arms just fine. He's got nice weapons, a really nice head sculpt. Again, I really like the look of the head sculpt. I think it definitely sells the vibe of this figure very well, and just a lot of really nice detail. But anyway, I'll stop harping on it. It's a good figure. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And without further ado, here we have Transformers Legacy Voyager class G2 Universe Jhiaxus.